You sure? All right. I'd like to call to order the Fire District Board meeting of February 19th. Would you all rise and join me for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know we are. We got it.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Stacy Aldrich.
Here.
Eric Fessman.
Here.
Dan Fox.
Here.
James Isling.
Here.
Stephen Schultz.
How about Scott?
Scott Schultz, sorry.
Here.
Sorry, Scott. True Falls.
Here.
And Fran Ray.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Everybody's present and accounted for, kind of. You and Stephen.
Yeah.
Would you please silence your phones, and please don't text during the meeting as it's against the Open Meetings Act. Could we have approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for February 19th, 2024.
I'll second.
A motion by phone, a second by Phelps. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No, the agenda stands. Greg, go ahead.
It's with great pride and admiration that I'd like to introduce Fran Ray from Douglas Representative, and I would like to swear you in. If you want to come right around here and stand up. Hope you realize what you're signing, you know. So, I'll read this to you. I'm going slow, okay? You can repeat after me. We should have a code book here for a Bible, but we won't, okay? I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the restated rules
and the restated rules
and bylaws
and bylaws
of the Saugatuck Township Fire District.
of the Saugatuck Township Fire District.
I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties as Fire Administrator Board Member
the duties as Fire Administrator Board Member
and shall serve without bias
and shall serve without bias
and not favor one governmental unit
and not favor one governmental unit
over another.
over another.
I shall be primarily interested
I shall be primarily interested
in providing the best possible fire protection
in providing the best possible fire protection
to the district,
to the district,
while always seeking
while always seeking
the most efficient use of tax monies
the most efficient use of tax money
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Great, thank you. We'll have you sign your life away.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
That's not too
Welcome.
Okay. Can we have approval of the minutes of the January 15th meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 15th, 2024.
I'll support. I have a motion by phone, second by Aldrich. I think I got it.
You got it, huh?
Maybe, I don't know, young old. To approve the minutes of the January 15th meeting, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now, we're going to do, now that I finally remembered to bring the minutes of the December 18th meeting, we are going to approve the minutes of the December 18th, 2023 closed session.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 18 closed session meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Beckman and a second by Fox. This is, we can't discuss it, sorry. You all agree. Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay, we'll put that to bed. Motion carries unanimously. Public comment on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and remain respectful. Anybody out there want to talk? I don't know, there, no. Okay, moving on. We're going to do requests for payments of the accounts payable.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable of $174,785.90.
Thank God you were here.
I'll second it. We missed you, Scott.
Yeah, what'd you do without me?
You gotta do it, Eric.
Yeah, hard to say those numbers. Motion by Phelps, second by Pullen. Is there any discussion on the accounts payable?
I'm just curious, I had seen a few items on plumbing and septic. Is that a common problem with the current station?
No, it hasn't been. I think we had two separate issues. We had this sewer gas odor on the first floor that we hadn't experienced. We didn't know if it was the floor drain system or if it was from the sewer system. We're on a septic, unfortunately. However, it's maintained. We have it pumped every 2 years. It was every year, because we're on sand, they said you can go to 2 years. So we tried a number of things that we kind of exhausted all avenues. So we brought in the plumber, and they pulled the toilet right here. They thought it was blocked between here and the stack, so the sewer gas was coming back from the bottom of the toilet. That's what they believed it was. Meanwhile, we still thought, until that declaration, that it was the floor drain. So we tried everything, worked on that, brought in a sewer rod company, and they said it goes out to a tank, which we didn't know. And then they came back, because it was about 15 degrees, they couldn't rod. And then they put, they tried to determine where it was going to make sure it was clear, and they could not get anywhere. So we have to dig that up, try to find the cover for that tank, get into it. So as long as I've been around, it's the first time we had a problem.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please, to approve this?
Phelps,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes. Okay, approved unanimously.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Peter.
Okay, so page 12 of 28 is the monthly revenue and expenditures report. People are paying their property tax bills. I think we've collected roughly about 70% of what was billed between the township and the two cities. As you can notice, the negative numbers on the right-hand column we had quite a few large grants/donations here in the last month. And cost recovery, we've collected quite well in cost recovery, and also with plan review and inspection fees. So we've got excess revenues there. And then the expense side, as you can see farther down, the only, I think that's special events that we're over budget on there, and professional services, which is basically legal fees, we're over, and the general insurance. And so at some point in time, I'm waiting to see if we have any more insurance bills, so we'll do a budget adjustment here in the next couple board meetings. So I don't know if anybody has any line item questions there, or...
All right, hearing no questions, thank you, Peter. We will move on. Fire chief's comments.
Okay. January incidents, what would be notable for municipal representatives is January of 2024 was a record month in the history of the fire department. We were up 17%, over 17%, most likely because of that storm, the 16th and 17th of January, so wanted to let you know about that. Overlapping calls, run about 31% for January, which is pretty significant. Calls at the same time. I think a week ago Friday, when one of our cars got hit, we had 3 calls at one time. So, staffing demand. Other than that, pretty much the beginning of the year, so nothing notable other than a record January, and you're at 31% overlapping calls.
You think they change in the response time just because of the weather?
Yeah, it was colder, so the salt wasn't effective. So you'll see an increase in response, Scott. You just had to pick on that, Scott. But you're right.
Just asking.
I'm like a true fireman.
You're right. There's no further questions, I'll move on. Department of Fire Prevention. Get through this long report here. That's because it's in this one. Plan review hours and fire prevention education hours pretty much mirror each other. 28 hours for plan review, and then our monthly classes at the elementary school. Next up, state fire statistics for 2024 for January, as we've had 21 deaths and 20 fires, which is a 2% increase, and a 9% increase in fires. That would be what is notable for January. I believe the board asked me last month to reach out to the new CVB Special Event Coordinator, April Gundy. I met with her. We had a real good discussion about collaborative efforts on what she's going to handle. I think one of the challenges we're going to have, and I may have a solution, is essentially how do we communicate with her? Because it's very distracting when we start using cell phones. And what I hope to do is train her on a radio and loan her a portable radio. That's what we've done with others. I just have to make sure that the CVB is responsible for a $9,000 radio. So I'll be working on
You're talking
that.
about at events, communicating with her.
Yes, communicating at events.
Thank you.
Cost recovery update. I think some of you may remember we had 3 major incidents on 196 in the 24 hours we were out there. And I billed for each one of those. They were commercial incidents, commercial trucks, and we collected on all 3 of them. So that's $14,616 that I'm proud to say the cost recovery team got back for us.
Against what was billed?
That was billed.
That's the full amount back?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
There was nothing.
No questions about it?
No, we had dual insurance representation on one of the incidents. And they called, it was due Thursday, and they contacted me Wednesday, wanted to negotiate. We had already been paid. I don't know, and besides, I wouldn't negotiate anyway. It was a 5-hour call, and it was brutal. But Liberty Mutual and Progressive is characteristic that they'll negotiate. But we didn't. Moving on, grant awards. We've written several grants that we're waiting for notifications, yay or nay on that. As soon as we know, we'll let you know.
I had a question for you, Greg. Sorry
Yes.
about that. On those cost recovery payments, what line item does that go back on? Maybe it's for Peter.
No, really, that's, if you look in the revenue, we just have spelled out revenue, I mean, I.
Just revenue, right?
Revenue, because we're, we got payroll, we got supplies, really, there's not a line item for like the truck costs, there's gas and oil costs out there, so, yeah, it's not
Okay,
divvied up
just
yet.
curious.
It's just baked. as revenue for the operating fund.
Operating costs,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah, I mean, one could say, what do we recoup? The cost of operations, so wages, benefits are what are charged, and then a truck fee. So it could be credited towards those line item for truck maintenance or wages. We usually put it in the fund, and we use it to replace equipment or purchase new equipment. That's what we've done before, replace cones that are driven over or whatever. In this case, you've got some pretty healthy reimbursements, but you had pretty expensive wages too. Does that answer?
Yeah, it's more for the public, just thinking out loud that, okay, you got $14,000 back, was that good in Cryogenics pocket? You know, but that's what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
there's a process in place that it just doesn't,
What we like to generally see is this being used for safety. If it was a fire, like you get $500 back from an insurance company, let's invest that in equipment that is on the list for firefighters. This is all highway, roadway, you know where I'm going with this, then it should be, you know, if you don't wanna put it towards wages, then it should be used for something for the highway, for safety. So just looking at those now, each one of those three was $196.
thanks.
Okay, hiring process, the new hirees one started the 9th, one will start the 21st, one will start the 24th.
We hired three?
I'm sorry?
We hired three people?
Three, yep,
Great.
3 people. So and they'll be at a 24-hour shift, a shift person, because that's where the paid-on-call are, which is tapering off.
And they are general like firefighters you put it under, I mean, or EMTs, or all of the above?
Firefighters, one's EMS,
Okay.
the other 2 are in school right now to become EMS. They have 12 months to get their state EMS license. One of them already possesses one. So firefighters in Hampton, one of them has been with us 15 years. So they were internal.
Okay. Oh,
They've served the community for at least 3 years.
good.
Can we know who the new people are?
I'm sorry.
Why don't you give up their...
Yes, of course. Why don't I give it, that's a good idea. Kevin Stevens is one of them. Caleb Hosier comes from a whole family of firefighters. I served with his father as a fire inspector, fire marshal. And then Phil Dalton, who's been with us 15 years. Phil left us for a while and then he came back.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes my chief comments,
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Now we're gonna talk about unfinished business. And, yeah, I think one of these is as important as the other, and I think we should talk about both of them before you vote on any of them.
So unfinished business, this is, because it was tabled, we just kept it on there, brought it back, see if there's any renewed interest, what you want us to do. Scott, I think you missed this second time, but this is traffic management apparatus, a truck. Yes, it's a specialized truck. We kind of showed you at the last meeting that really didn't find any favorable used equipment for a traffic management apparatus, that it wasn't comparable, it wasn't balanced, it wasn't long enough. We weren't comparing the same thing. So we keep reverting back to this. I did collect 80,000 out of 85,000 for donations towards that. I collected another $5,000 from Bill and Mike. One thing you might want to consider is to dampen this, is invest that 14% $5,000 of the cost recovery into this project. So basically, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
And then, should I talk about the next one?
Yes, let's
Yeah.
talk about ambulances, because that's come to
Yes.
the top of the heap now.
Well, the unfinished business is the ambulance study group 2.0, and I thought maybe Dan, Fran, and Eric would want to
Okay.
bring forth what our last meeting was about.
I forget what date it was, but the three of us met with Daniel and the chief and Tony Schippa. And the primary purpose of the meeting was to get Fran up to speed on what had transpired, mostly related to the discussions we had with the potential ambulance service supplier. And I think those can be most easily summarized as we are waiting for them to come back to the fire district with a trial plan to run April or May through September or October to cover the soft seasons on both ends and the big season in the summer, during which time they would assume responsibility in the fire district. We talked, I don't know, am I missing anything in general from what we chatted about? Or maybe I should ask you, because it was all fresh to your ears.
It was news for me, and I was very impressed with the amount of work that's been done to ensure that our community has a fast response time and an effective response from our ambulance services. And the trial would definitely address some of the gaps that were brought up on response time. And I think it's a complicated matter because just like with fires, you don't know how many calls you're going to get simultaneously. So I think that group's doing really tremendous job at trying to use all of the data that we have, which is pretty extensive from call history, to make some decisions about going forward. So
May or may not have been, I don't think it was in this packet, but in the last packet, the township supervisors extensive and well-written support for that effort, and which I find really commendable. We forgive me, but we rarely hear that from the other two jurisdictions. It just doesn't happen. So that was terrific, and it is encouraging. It'll definitely be a multivariate deal. It's complicated on 2 or 3 levels, but I think the goal's worth going for. Absolutely worth going for.
I think one of the questions that are still hanging is when is Life going to start this pilot program?
Well, they haven't even proposed it.
Right.
We don't have the details of what they've actually proposed. Until we get that, that's the next thing to sink our teeth in.
I guess the question is, we didn't have any set date of when they were gonna get back to us and say, hey, let's go from here to here and see how this works.
Well, the encouraging part, I think, an encouraging part of that dynamic is, I think several of us, yourself included, rightly surmised, and they said as much in the meeting, there are great parts of this that are very strongly in their business interests. So I don't think they're just going to sit on it. I mean, their ability to extend into this area with some amount of the service coming out of Holland, where they already have operations, is a cost favorable situation for them. And like any business, they want to grow their business. And they're a Michigan company. They're not going to grow in Iowa. They're going to grow here. They grow. So.
May I comment to the group? So, my takeaway on it was, Mr. Meyer sort of said, I hate to see you guys go jump right into transporting. He says, I'd like to try to cover this. He said, number one, I don't have an ambulance to give you. So that was kind of a setback, because we had kind of presented that 6 months ago to the supervisor. But nonetheless, I think Mr. Meyer, Mark, is very optimistic that he'll be able to provide us better coverage than what we had before by shifting more resources over here. I don't think it'll be 100%, but again, we don't want to be in the transport business. We just want to do that for the what-ifs. So I see that as the second takeaway is we need to see what they're going to respond with, how they want to handle this, and what their timeline is when they can shift resources up here. Does that kind of summarize Mark Myers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel he's got a sense that they'll be able to handle everything, even priority threes, and I still think we need one. Even if he thinks he can do all of it, there's gonna be times where they're not gonna be able to be here. I'm in huge support of, as Tony would say, getting a transport-capable vehicle for this department.
I agree 100%.
And I don't think one negates the other.
No.
I mean, my guess, much as anything, is it won't negate it from their side either, honestly. I mean, I don't think, for example, if we had a BLS vehicle, transport vehicle sitting downstairs, had we had that when we had that meeting with them, I don't think that would have changed the discussion one bit.
I don't think we're any threat to them. I think they understand our motive.
It's the truck that was damaged in the accident recently, is that gonna be replaced, and could it be replaced with this kind of vehicle, or go towards that, or what do you think about that?
Funny you ask.
Not to jump ahead on the agenda, but I think you have an opportunity.
Oh, I didn't even.
Yeah, under new business, I think you have an opportunity now to, within reason, since we believe the truck is totaled, is to replace it with a transport-capable vehicle.
So this really, both agenda items really
Tie in together.
tie in together. We have to make a decision about where we want to go with things.
Like-
And this isn't an easy decision, and it's not a decision where you're saying, this is more important than this. It's just a decision that has to be made, and it's a discussion that needs to be had before we make any decisions, in my opinion.
Well, personally, this is easy for me on one of them. The other one I'm struggling with, but with all the donations coming in and a couple other things that have happened, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to support.
I agree. After that, right after our meeting, was terrible conditions, and
Right.
I felt that, for your safety, I would have loved to have that apparatus out there with you,
But we have to discuss how we're going to do this.
okay. How are we gonna do it?
That's up to you.
Oh.
I just lead these meetings. So, we need to have a discussion. What are we going to do?
Where do we, I don't expect there's been that much progress, but on the 2112 replacement, do I have the number right? Or sale,
Yeah.
disposal, whatever.
Nothing, no contacts yet.
But it's listed with some broker?
It's listed, no, it's not listed with a broker. We did it on Facebook and trying to do it within the network that we know to try to avoid. What we found with brokers is they can't answer anything. With this ambulance search, and we probably contacted 40 ambulances. Oh, you have to talk to so-and-so in Pennsylvania. We're just a broker. There are very few of them. The one that we found in Illinois was sold within a matter of hours. It was sold by the fire department.
Well, that kind of brings us to the point where you need to be prepared, like the one I sent you. Unfortunately, it was gone, but it was almost perfect. And you need to be able to make that decision relatively quickly without bringing the board together for a meeting. So I think that's where we're going here,
I think we should maybe establish, the board may want to establish a not-to-exceed number on replacing the total truck. I believe they're coming tomorrow to take a look at it. They couldn't come today. So assessor,
Adjuster.
adjuster is gonna take a look at that, and something else in Holland. And let us know, 'cause just, it's insured for $52,000. We don't know how they're gonna treat it, they're gonna depreciate it. We've seen it go both ways. But fortunately, that truck didn't fit into the 15-year plan.
But I think we need to understand what the replacement value, we would
Yeah.
need to replace that even if it wasn't in an accident.
So to replace that truck like it is, probably be $80,000, if we had to order one. And it would be 16 to 18 months.
Can you buy time on the process or advantage on the process by offering on whatever might look good online or first phone call or whatever, offer even a, pick a number, $1,000 deposit to hold it, and if you, which, to get the advantage of having someone you guys trust inspect the damn thing, and if we decide, whatever, if that decision is we want it, then you move forward. If that decision is we don't want it, fine, you keep the $1,000 or $2,500, whatever number it takes to do that. But clearly, I mean, I saw the same thing Eric mentioned. They're gone in 60 seconds. I mean, you look at the listing and boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and I don't know how fire departments do this, but it may not be fire departments that are buying these all up. So I'll share you, if I have permission. So Chris Mannels, myself, and a few other of the command officers have been looking. The board's been great about sharing a number of things. We found a truck that piques our interest. It's a bigger truck. It mirrors 2111. It's the same cab. Scott, you were around when we built 2111. You were there. It's a bariatric ambulance. What does that mean? It's bigger. But it has a Braun ambulance body on it, which is very good. It has 101,000 miles on it, Cummins engine, commercial engine. It's commercial cab and chassis. It's got 5 seats in it? 4.
4 in a cab.
4. There were 6 they took, 4. So it has some advantages. You'll see in here, one of my things is standardization of trucks. It's the same thing as 2111. So consider this. This truck, Chris is in negotiations right now with no money down. He's already got $8,500 knocked off of it. Chris did that. So it's in North Carolina. We send 2 people down there like we did with 2112. We make arrangements for a wire transfer if the board is okay with that. It's been checked out by their mechanic. Hard for us to check out a truck in North Carolina when you can't put it on a lift and everything else. We can tell by looking at it, it looks like it was taken care of. It was owned by Jefferson Fire Department. It was municipally owned, taken care of. It looks good. Does not have a cot in it. We have to buy that. We have to do vinyl work on it. You know, all that stuff adds up. Where are we at? $40K.
Addition.
$40,000 to buy it, and then gotta letter it, transfer a radio. There'll be no sales tax. Tires, next year, Chris got the tires knocked off. So we have money to buy a tire. They want $48,500 for it. Possible. We like the commercial aspect of this. Okay, bigger. That's a con. However, you still got a Ford Expedition. So those crews that are only trained on a small truck, they can take that. People that are trained on apparatus can use the other one. Additionally, what happened when I became chief in 2013? Sell the heavy rescue. We regret it to this day. That truck could serve as a heavy rescue.
Can you explain what that capability?
Heavy rescue truck is exactly like this Bariat. Do you have a picture of that you can put up? So, heavy rescue truck looks like what you're gonna see, only red. Compartments were bigger. So cribbing, extrication tools, airbags were in these compartments. At the time, we thought, what do we need a heavy rescue truck for? Let's just use an engine. Heavy rescue is specialty work. But we wanted to liquidate, the board wanted to liquidate trucks. I was told to sell it, and we did. Heavy rescue looks just like this, only more cabinet space, less interior room. This is a bariatric. The load rating on the cot was 1,500 pounds. Big.
Is this what this one, is this a picture of the one you're looking at?
That's it.
And it's a Spartan chassis with a Braun box.
You have a 2008 now, Spartan. This is a 2009, same cab. Just that box in the back is made by a company called Braun.
Which, if no one knows, that they are the leaders in the industry. I sell sandpaper to them.
Good looking truck.
And I sell sandpaper to Spartan, so.
Of course you do.
Well, we should get your discount on it.
What do you mean? I'm sticking it to them? No, I'm just kidding.
Can we use this truck at fire?
Yeah.
Is it beneficial at a fire?
Yes, where you use this truck at a fire, that's another thing I like about it. Somebody brought it up, what we lost when we got out of a heavy rescue, and Scott, we've had them before. You can't get anybody out of the heat, or the cold.
So we can use that for that.
So if they're stretched out in a cot, till the ambulance gets there, there's nothing to put them in. We could do that with the heavy rescue. Not just wintertime, but summertime, because it was air conditioned. So when we first saw that, the white elephant, I call it, we laughed. And then I thought about it today and go, well, wait a minute. I don't have a Ford diesel, I shouldn't say. I don't have a diesel that's known to blow up turbochargers. That could blow up next week. No guarantees it's used. However, 101,000 miles for a Cummins engine is...
It's nothing.
What about, can we use it for, at a
Rehab.
fire? Rehab, at a fire.
Right, rehab. Because a lot of times what we do, we don't like tying up the medics.
Right.
Can you
So
explain,
when-
can you explain what rehab at a fire is? or-
Sure.
I kind of, I guess.
No, my mistake. So rehab is part of NFPA as an incident commander. I have to ensure if a firefighter goes through 2 cylinders of air, he's removed. Not always easy. Where do you send them? They are ordered to sit down in a chair, and you have to get baseline vitals. Remove the air pack, they're out of service. Well, sometimes you only have 6 or 7 people fighting a fire. Sometimes they're on their 4-cylinder. But you don't have anything to put them in. We have rehab trailers, one in Ganges, one in Hamilton. Here's the problem: staffing to get them. You gotta go back and get them. They don't bring them out initially. We brought them out, but at least this is a medical vehicle, so if you have medical people only, we have 4, they can bring the vehicle, and it does stand by. You can put 3 or 4 people in that, in this truck,
And that's enough?
inside the back.
Right. That's enough space?
Yep. The other rescue we had at Chevy had bench seats on both sides, but that was a different heavy rescue box. This was built as an ambulance, so the interior takes up more room, cabinets are smaller. But what we see is it's more versatile, and certainly you're not going to overload it. You can also see on the back end, those ramps are something you would use for a bariatric patient. There's a winch in there too, where typically you put the cot to the back end, you hook it up, you push a button, the legs retract and you push it in. That's for a real heavy lift where that system won't handle it. Those ramps would be shelved, so to speak. So there's some advantages. It comes without a cot. That cot refurbished is $9,000. None of them come with cots because they strip them out and resell them. So I see this, and, is there any rust, corrosion on it? No, it looks great. You don't know that till you see it. apparently the white striping, which is a reflective striping, is faded. Well, you're gonna wanna do something on this. There's a better way of doing this rather than painting it. How many trucks have we painted? Remember the Army truck we painted? Okay, wrap it.
Wrap it.
Wrap it. It's vinyl, it's wrapped with like shrink wrapping. That we could probably figure out something and reduce the price, but I think you're gonna wanna do something, to make it fire. So there, for bang for the buck,
That's a heck of a deal, I think.
you know,
The only drawback I see
I had a
is
couple-
it's two-wheel drive.
I had a couple people go, it's too big to get in a driveway.
But
It's very short wheelbase. Look at this wheelbase. I agree it's taller, I agree. But remember, I still have a Ford Expedition. And that, you know what you should be looking to do is, if you get this in service, when an Expedition is on its way out, you order an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
You order a remount, brand new cabin chassis with a refurb box. So I saw this going, boy, you got 4 seats with SCBA brackets for whatever that's worth, air tanks. And you've got a lot of cabinet space where stuff isn't flying all over and you're not gonna overload it. So we like this, and Chris was been beating these guys up. I'll never sell anything to you.
Has they got cabinet space for cribbing and?
So that's what we saw, the real potential of using this, as, you know, more than just a medical vehicle. We use our medical vehicles, you know, for a smoke alarm installation and things like that.
But we still have one. I like this because it has more than one use.
Mm-hmm.
It fills a gap that we have. Eric's asking about two-wheel drive, but how often do we really need two-wheel drive?
Well, four-wheel drive in smaller vehicles is absolutely essential.
Right, but this,
When you get into bigger trucks, it's not as bad. We don't tend to have a problem like we do with the little ones.
and it's not like we have to get it into a fire. We
Because there's more weight over the axle.
Right.
Tell you, the price almost, I mean, I looked at enough of these trucks or whatever where if you'd have said, okay, here's this truck, how much do you think it costs, or they're asking for it, I would've said, I don't know, minimum 150,
that's what I would've
I
got.
know.
which makes me wonder, when they take a look,
What's
have
wrong
them
with
take
it?
a really good look.
Yeah, what?
I noticed there's a piece of tape across the hour meter on the speedometer. There's a red piece of tape across there. The first thing I do looking at this thing is pull that off, see what's under that. You gotta go over when you went through the...
Yeah, I saw it too.
So,
But yeah, I mean, that's just a watch out if it's fair value for that price. That's,
You know, if we were wealthy and we could run all over and look at trucks all the time, it's not like going to Grand Rapids. Yeah, I don't know why that's like.
That's the screen.
That's a screen
That's
though.
the color of the screen.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
It looks like red tape.
Yeah,
It
our
does.
Spartan chassis is the same.
it's a red digital.
oh.
I thought they were hiding
No.
something too.
No, you just gotta have really good eyes.
But in any case, that's the $40,000 against $150,000 for what seem to be comparable pieces of equipment is just begs, take a really good look and don't let it get away if that's what we want.
Well, if maybe what they use it for, it isn't good enough, but would it be good enough for what we would use it for?
How large of a community is this? Is it like, I mean, do we compare?
It's a volunteer fire
I mean,
department.
So it's not that big community.
are they as busy as we are, or don't, you know?
I don't know, it was, the fire department it's a municipality that owned it, so I'm thinking that their health department used it as well, but I don't know that. We thought about calling Jefferson Volunteer Fire Department,
Well, maybe that's the next step.
but Chris has been getting answers from the broker on this, so we haven't been driven to that yet.
Oh, they've been really responsive.
I think
So
he's
they
been,
really want to get rid of it.
well, it's not a typical ambulance.
No, it's not. If it's,
It is
It
bigger,
says ambulance.
you know, that's the con side of it. is bigger. But we've had that with type 1, the regular ambulances like you see. I've had people complain about those being too big. We're to the point now where here's what you're driving,
This is what you
here's
got.
what we have to offer you.
Mhm.
You aren't in charge.
I don't think you can overstress the advantage of having 3 trucks built by the same company and roughly the same chassis. It's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage for the people that are operating them. It's a huge advantage for maintenance. It's a big deal.
So that's where we were at. I even, like I say, checked about the vinyl, Chris checked about the tires. I think Chris made him an offer, if I'm wrong, tell me, high 30s, they came back at 45. Chris conferred with me, and Chris, being the chiseler is, said, well, why don't we go 40, and he did, and they took it. If, subject to inspection, if the board is good with that.
Who's gonna do the
Again,
inspection?
huh?
Who's gonna do the inspection of it?
We are. Chris Bernardi and Chris Manos would go down there.
Okay.
I'd stay back.
Okay.
Is there
Is it up
anyone
on a
from
thing to look
Spencer?
at?
Nope, it wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't put it up on a lift because that's
Big
we
truck.
don't know where to take it.
We'll take a creeper
Oh.
with us.
Yeah,
Was
you
there
can under it.
anyone, could we bring anyone from Spencer who uses Spartan on all their
Well,
stuff?
Here's what I was thinking of sending down there. Your new employee, Kevin Stevens, owns Stevens Diesel.
Hmm.
Oh,
Send him down there with Chris and Bernie. Have Miller, he's a mechanic.
that's good.
That's what I was
Good.
going to do, but I didn't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to be leading the board. This has got to be your decision. To me, it's a good bang for the buck. Anything, time I buy something used, it's a risk.
But I like the idea of sending a mechanic down there. Good.
I know where you live.
So the
But here's a case where, I mean, there's so much that looks positive about this.
That's
Where
good.
I'd be willing to ask them, what'll it take, you don't want this to get away if it is what you think it is, and the board agrees. You don't want it to get away just because somebody else walked in there day after tomorrow with 50 grand in cash and said, and bought it. So, does it make sense to say to them, can we hold it to whenever you guys get down there and take a look? What does it take to hold it? I wouldn't offer a number, but
Okay.
It's been sitting since September, and it's been primarily because all these ambulance companies go and look at it, and they don't know what to do with the cab. Where we look at it and see SCBA seats, they look at it and like, we're gonna have to change the seats out to use it as a regular ambulance. So that's why it's been sitting for a little while, and I think we are in a pretty good position to.
Plus, it is big for a paramedic
Right.
type organization. We're not paramedics. We see it as not just running calls, we see it as a multi-purpose public safety vehicle.
Can we use that front area also as a rehab part?
Yeah, guys can sit in there with the truck running, yeah. Because you sit in a chair in rehab anyway, so you could sit, you've got 4 seats inside there.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what-
4 in the back.
And then where does this leave us financially, Pete?
Well, hopefully we get $52,000 for the rec
So
vehicle.
we would be good.
We'd be good, because I was thinking, when Dan said, I thought it'd be 150 for the ambulance, and then whatever this actuator truck, whatever the price there, I said, boy, if we do both of these at the same time, at some point, we probably would have to go borrow money on them, you know, if we were 150, and what's the TMA truck, you know?
Well, but with the TMA truck, you would be ordering it, which is 6-7 month build.
Yeah.
So you would catch part of it on this fiscal year, the rest of it on
Next
July
year,
1st
yeah.
fiscal year, plus you got $90,000 cash.
How much is it? I didn't see, I don't.
200
Oh.
with contingency.
And if we sell the 212 or 2112 in the
Right.
meantime,
You'd have more cash.
a lot more cash.
So I think I like Dan's approach. You could, put down, agree to a non-refundable deposit if the board should go that way, $1,000. So, because we have to coordinate how they can get down there. If I can get Kevin Stevens to go down there, he would obviously be paid. So,
I think this is a little bit like the boat we have. Everyone says, why in the hell do we have that big boat? Well, John paid like $7,000 for it. Two?
2,500.
People are gonna see this and go, why in the hell do we have that big ambulance? What'd you pay, a couple $100,000 for it? And then you say, no, we got it under 50. So it's back to educating the public.
But we don't even have to call this an ambulance.
No.
We can call it a
Heavy
heavy rescue.
rescue, which we had one.
We had one that a grant paid for it. I wrote it.
Transport capable heavy rescue.
Mm-hmm.
He just had some interesting, I think investment wise, it's,
Can you bring the picture up of the actual unit again? As I understand, if we wrap it, paint it, whatever, like we do all our other vehicles, and this is going down the street, most people aren't even gonna know.
They're gonna think it's one of those
It's
other.
another one of the trucks.
Yeah.
And we don't, sure as hell aren't gonna put ambulance on the side.
right.
No, but we will be able to use it as an ambulance, right?
A transport vehicle.
Transport
As so
capable
many
vehicle.
people kept on telling us.
So really what you just did is a lateral move. You replace a truck that's totaled, we believe it's totaled. Lateral move, and what you did is substitute, met the needs of the department, and you were also pretty darn fiscally responsible.
To me, this is,
Win.
I'm sorry, but to me, this is a no-brainer. If we get the money for that expedition, hopefully we get 50 grand, and we can buy this, even if we have to put 20 into this thing, we have a heavy rescue unit that can transport.
Well, don't we have the stuff to put in this? It's in the,
We don't have the cot.
Well, Mark Meyer said he was gonna give us that, remember? He did say that he would try to work with us. He said, I can't give you an ambulance, but we can work with you to try to
Well, I'm glad you remember
load it
that.
up. Remember his story when he was the first one on scene?
Yep.
yeah.
When he was, and he said, what's taking your ambulance so long? And all the rescue people there were using his equipment already. He says, it looks like we're here already. And I remember him saying, we may be able to help you furnish this.
So, we're going to be able to use this as an ambulance or transport,
Yes.
which would be the same thing as an ambulance.
So where's this Jefferson at? 12-hour drive or?
11 and a half.
11.
1.5.
Hours.
Oh, we
We
did
could probably
this
do it
before,
night.
it's always
What,
pretty.
remember, how do we buy 2112, the engine? We sent Linus and Brent Van Oss down there, and that was a $250,000 truck, and they looked at it, and the fire department was anxious to get rid of it because they had replaced it. And they made an offer, we made an offer that included about $12,000 worth of tools. So it worked out, and the fire department said, yeah, take it, go ahead and take it. We hadn't paid for anything.
And he drove it back.
Drove it back.
For a check. It was a-
This one won't leave until the wire, and the way to do it is not, is to do a wire transfer. And we can get it in one day.
She did say a cashier's check would be appropriate too if we brought one with, and then pending inspection, but we would give it to them.
So you're gonna drive down there and look at it?
Yeah, they are, I'm gonna stay back.
You wanna go for it?
I'd love to go, but somebody's gotta,
Just on the show?
yeah.
Do we know where Jefferson, North Carolina is? What city?
I don't remember, it was just over an 11-hour drive when we looked it up, but
By the time you get to the airport in Grand Rapids and go through
You're
Delta,
12 hours.
Atlanta,
And
and then
rent a
back
car.
up there, you're looking at 11 hours. The way
Or a
things are
couple of
going.
days, you never know.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I mean, you know, you drive it back, you hope nothing happens too.
Yeah,
Is there,
it's a good road test.
is there equipment on Expedition, the wrecked Expedition that's transferable?
All that would come over to
I'm
here.
thinking about the lights, these don't look like digital lights.
No, they don't. We don't know if the insurance company will give us the light bar. We don't know if the light bar will fit this. Light bar's about 2,500 plus install, so I don't know. We,
We'll know more tomorrow. So, what do we wanna do? Do we wanna get a figure from the insurance company first? Do we wanna just go look at this and see what happens?
My suggestion is, consider this. Make a motion to put $1,000 on it with a not to exceed of 40K total. And then subject to inspection, and then, because the timing of going down there, I don't know if it'll be next week, this week, we don't know.
You had it subject to the insurance company's settlement on
Yeah.
their issue.
And, you know, I don't like the 40K, what if it's 42? Then we have to have a special board meeting, what do we have to do? I don't like giving you an open-ended account.
Yeah, because you're not getting a helicopter either, I saw that story too.
No, you're not.
Just put that in there.
Well, if you can find one for 40K, go for it.
No, my dead body, no.
No, I agree with Jan, we need to have a little leeway there in case.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the whole total project, you know, which is probably a better way of looking at this, you might wanna do like a $58,000 project. Because if I can't get a cot from Mark, that's $9,000 right
Yeah.
there.
Well, what do we say, what about if we say 40K, you can approve 5,000, I can approve 10,000?
That's true.
So if it goes over the 40K, you can approve, or I can approve in the end.
It's fine with me.
Those go together, is that a 15K delta?
This is 5 minus 10. They are not multipliers. So, maybe,
Yeah.
do it that way? You're always thinking, Dan.
Makes sense to me.
So,
Yeah, I don't know what the, because we can't make a decision, if we do a post-fire board meeting decision, it's gonna take a couple of days, and then we gotta get everyone together.
You gotta post
So
them.
I think you'd be wise to do a not to exceed number now
Mhm.
on the initial, on the project. Whether it's just obtaining this, or if you're gonna include ancillary equipment.
and I like sending Kevin, I was gonna suggest Linus, but Kevin might be.
I try to get Linus already.
Kevin might be more up to date.
When do we know the
Don't tell Linus
adjuster's coming?
that, 'cause that would update.
Pardon me?
When's the adjuster coming, do we know that?
They said today or tomorrow, so I'm assuming tomorrow.
Okay.
And I even called the insurance company before the board meeting to try to make sure he was here tomorrow. But he has contacted Chris and said Monday or Tuesday.
So, what if we do this? I would like to get this out of the way before we do the truck, the big truck. I think this, to me, this is really important. I know the other is important too, I understand that. But I think we've talked about this for, 4 years, 5 years? I think this is the time.
16 years?
I think this is the time to strike. Ever since I've been here, we've talked about it. Because
Me
we
too.
sold that truck and Greg wasn't asleep. But, I mean, and we wouldn't have that truck today if we,
No, the truck would've been gone by now.
we wouldn't have a truck.
We'd have another one.
Yeah. So I think let's
See you,
finish,
Peter?
can we finish this and then go to
Go to the
that?
next
We
one.
might know more about 2112, although I don't think we should sell 2112. I'm kind of personally attached to that. But,
So you have to decide if you want, what you want to do as far as,
yeah, let's see how this works
You
out.
know,
This, it might blow up in our faces, and then we'd have to do something else, is my point. Or,
I just can't give you a definitive number of what the insurance company's going to do. They may depreciate that
well,
truck.
you can't give me a definitive survey of this truck either. We don't know what it is.
So what you're kind of looking for is maybe a motion not to exceed $40,000 and whatever this is. Am I, that the gist of it all?
Or just do 55 to cover,
I don't like doing that much.
but to cover the cost of putting stuff on it.
What I would do is, I would probably do 55,000.
Yeah. That
And
way-
then any more than that, we come back to the board.
To exceed.
Yeah, but we're still gonna get money for the other total vehicle.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
and that could buy the equipment,
Yeah.
so Ford.
Well, I'm assuming the money they give you for that is gonna offset the cost of this, and you might have to kick in some more.
Yeah, but
Right.
between the two of you and your spending authority, you're okay.
Yeah.
So, we wanna do it for 40? What, Dan, you do it, you do the motion. I never
I'm just
put-
trying to think of the wording.
Well, you can use that wording to
Yeah.
change everything there if you want.
I make a motion to authorize the fire district staff to execute the purchase of the 2009 medium duty, whatever, can't see the rest of it.
Rescue.
Heavy rescue transport capable vehicle for sale in North Carolina after its inspection, we're assuming.
Subject to inspection.
Subject to inspection by our people, for a total cost not to exceed.
I'd go with 55. That way it covers stripping it.
No, we have enough with what we get for the other vehicle.
Okay.
Not gonna be free to send those guys down there either.
Yeah, but that's normal operations, that's
Yeah.
not related to,
Yeah.
not to exceed, let's say 42,000, there's a little bit of a give in there.
I will support.
Okay, did you get that motion, Chris?
Chris is good at making
I
motions.
had most of it typed before he started. I'm just trying to help with-
Well, then why do you?
I know you.
What do you need us
Of
for?
course you did.
They ask that every day, believe me.
So, we have a motion by Fox and a second by Beckman. Is there any more discussion? Motion's for $42,000 to go down, inspect the vehicle, buy it if it's worth buying, and drive it back. Is that correct? Is that where we're
Mhm.
going? Would you read the motion, Chris?
Sure. Motion by Fox, second by Beckman to approve fire district staff to execute the purchase of the 2009 Spartan Braun ambulance in Jefferson, North Carolina, pending successful on-site inspection with a not-to-exceed amount of $42,000.
Heavy rescue transport capable, not the A word.
Okay.
Tony taught us well, didn't he? We do not want to be, and I don't care if it's on public record, we're not gonna be an ambulance.
No, we're not.
We
good.
want transport capability.
That is accurate.
Yep. Would it make sense to have it trucked back instead of driving it back?
I'm sorry?
Would it make sense to have it trucked back
Thought
instead of?
about that, maybe, talk to PVT or somebody, get a quote on having it shipped.
Yeah,
Ours
ship
is
back
$1.
Rather than drive it back.
Ours is $1 a mile, I'll bet they get $5 a mile, so you can get a rough idea. Because that's gonna take up a whole.
It'll take a trailer.
682 miles.
It'd be worth checking out.
So if I have it shipped, what I would do with about the price? with the
What's the cost
motion?
to ship it?
We
You-
don't-
It would be right around $4,000 if, to have it lowboy here, probably maybe a little more, and that's just guessing.
Because I thought about having it shipped, but I should have mentioned that before.
Okay, well, let's not
Yeah.
put that in the price
Okay.
and leave that to,
Make
That's
it-
an operational decision.
yeah, that's your decision.
Okay.
And if it exceeds $5,000, you can talk to me about it.
Okay. Fair
All
enough.
right.
Okay, that works.
All right, any other discussion?
I think we're lucky they listed it as an ambulance, because I think.
We never
from the
would've looked
discussion-
at it.
Well, it makes sense that that's the reason it's still out there. I
Mhm.
don't think it's out there because there's any issue with the vehicle.
Yeah.
I only saw one
That's
other
a thought.
Spartan
Good thought, I think.
advertised as an ambulance, and it was ambulance heavy rescue, and the box on it was another 50% larger than what this is. And the wheelbase roughly it.
Bigger too.
Yeah.
You see Hortons, you see some of the, the nicer, bigger trucks that the paramedics use them. And, certainly value. But if you're running ALS all the time, you want something that would be more conducive to driveways. They wouldn't want something like that in Grand Rapids, you know?
So would this be, what, second, third vehicle out to first responder?
I think it depends on the crew. I think if it was our day crew, they'll probably take that. But some of the night crew might be, until they're trained on that, they have to take the other one.
Yeah, okay.
Because nobody can drive that till they're trained on
I
it.
guess the other thing to look at it is, as a box, and if the box is in good shape, those aren't cheap, just the box alone.
Right.
And then you look at the cabin chassis, which is a whole nother thing. You literally, at some point, if it wasn't to what we need, you could move the box somewhere and put something else on it.
Repurpose the box.
You
yeah.
repurpose the box. So
Matter of fact,
we're-
the company in Muskegon thought we had an ambulance that was totaled, and they said, give us the box, we'll build you a truck. So we don't have a box. Can we get, you know, they get the boxes, it takes months to refurbish them. I don't have one.
Not a lot of road salt in North Carolina, too, which is nice.
How soon do you think you're going down?
I'm sorry?
How soon would you be going, right away, or?
Probably sooner than later. It really hinges on coordinating the guys to go down there. As much as I'd love to go down, I feel compelled to give them a chance to go down, and I'll stay. So it depends on when I can, because there's some obligations for the weekends. They can't go on the weekend, and they shouldn't have to go on a weekend.
But this week, oh, okay.
And as to education of the public, when it gets, I mean, nobody's, as you say, nobody's gonna, when it gets its vinyl or its wrap and all the rest of that, that's a perfect time to launch it here with a press deal and a come visit and whatever, without using the A word. And as people come in, including the press, you show them the transport capable aspect of it and the rehab or whatever, all of the rest of that. And get into their heads what this is and why it's here. So that we don't have people going, wait a minute, but it is an ambulance or whatever.
You know, don't drink and drive.
Well, let's, okay, we had enough discussion, is everybody done talking? I mean, I want everybody to talk until they're done talking, but are we done talking about the actual
Purchase.
method of looking at to purchase?
No.
Yeah.
Please tell me again what we're using this for. Two things, transport and what else?
Rehab.
So it's emergency medical services is a primary use.
Okay.
An ancillary use would be a place to sit down, rehabilitation, to get your vitals, your heart
Okay.
down to acceptable levels.
It's a medical thing.
It's an emergency medical services vehicle. That would be how I would describe it. And it will have ability to have extrication tools on it because of the cabinet space. I have not seen the cabinets, but my guess is you could easily put more equipment on that.
Mm-hmm.
See, right now you can't do that with an Expedition because you're overloaded.
Well, there's one, two,
Thank you.
cabinets at least.
I'm done.
Okay, is everybody done? Okay, then let's have a roll call.
Fox,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
LaPlank,
Yes.
Yes.
Phelps, Poland,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that was easy.
Thank you.
That was
Okay, did you guys bring your pajamas? Because we're gonna do this.
I was meeting at 6, I told him I might be late.
Okay, so,
You want to go to the phone system, new business?
Sure.
12A, the phone system, you've got on page 19, and you have a project description. Chris has been assigned to this. Chris, would you please share with the board?
So essentially, we put our current phone system in 2015, and it is now obsolete, that the brain that controlled it all is no longer supported as of the end of the year. And so if it were to fail tomorrow, we would have no phones. And so this is upgrading everything to what's called VoIP. So it's like all internet-based, phones. It does have a lot of advantages too, that like you can actually set up your desk phone to talk through an app on your smartphone, so you don't necessarily have to be here, and you can still answer and call through your desk phone, get voicemails that way as well too. It's a very similar system what City of Saugatuck switched to about 4 years ago, and upgraded. And then the nice thing is, being VoIP, they're pretty much standard hardware across any vendor, so if we get tired of the current VoIP vendor, we can switch to someone else to manage the service for us instead, but maintain the equipment without having to change it, so. That's what it is. And the nice thing is, when we put the first system in 2015, we cabled the building correctly, but we don't have to recable the building again. We just have to plug the phones into the wall and we're done. So.
Exit easy.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Any concerns about being over internet service and that reliability?
No, the one thing we're looking into doing that, because we're already on a standby generator, we shouldn't have any issue, but we can always add a backup, kind of like a 5G type home internet hotspot as a redundancy to the Comcast if we chose to, and that would be in the neighborhood of $40 a month on our current Verizon plan. But I think for the Comcast has only gone down, for our phone side anyway, I don't know, 2-3 times in a year, and for the most part, we're not even here anyway when it's happened because we're out managing all of the other weather-related incidents. So I don't know, that's something we can certainly explore down the road, but it'd be an easy fix to add into the current internet switch if we wanted to.
This has nothing to do with the 911 communications?
No.
When
This
a
is
call
just
comes in?
Our in-house.
This is just our in-house
Yep.
thing, so.
So there's
It goes
nothing-
down, it goes down.
Yeah, there's
Well,
nothing that.
The only time it would have an impact is when Allegan Central loses the phone system, which has happened.
Yeah.
People chop through the fiber optics,
Oh, yeah.
so instead there's nothing, they have got to call the station. And somebody brought this up about a backup, and I said, Chris, please find out what happens if we lose the internet. And this, at least this system has the ability to transfer to a designated phone, so we aren't shut down. Right now, we can't do that. We lose the phone, we lose the phone.
Okay.
If there's a hotspot, can somebody use their hotspot that isn't fire related, or is there a passcode?
They're all password protected, encrypted.
All right. Anybody else?
This is a one-time
Yeah.
charge, and then how did the monthly fee compare to what we're paying currently?
We currently pay, it's a little over $150 a month for the 2 lines through Comcast, so it's more, or it's about double what we pay, but there's no really other option in transitioning to a VoIP system that we're gonna, the other vendor was actually $325 a month, and the third one was like $350, so this is the cheapest of the 3 vendors, and they're already doing all of our IT work, so it was kind of a no-brainer that they manage both systems for us, and it would be cheap, so.
I'll make a motion to authorize the fire district staff to purchase the replacement VoIP phone system through Arrows IT Group with a not-to-exceed amount of $87.30.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Beckman to do this, and a second by Aldrich.
Oh, okay. I thought I did, okay.
The funding one, so if we have a roll call vote, please.
Beckman?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
LaPointe?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
Mullin?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on.
12B.
Federal approval, 2011 compartment modifications.
Voting approval, right?
Yep.
So the next request would be on page 20 of your packet. So now that we're gonna keep truck 2111, when we built that truck, we were very Spartan on shelves and tools. Everything pretty much was piled on the bottom of the shelves. So to mirror 2110, your new truck we want to have tool boards and mount the equipment. So with, and the vendor that would do this is Spencer's. And Spencer's would freely do that now and bill it in the 2025 fiscal year. So the purpose of this primarily, when we have extrication tools, what we're trying to get out of is when they're in there doing this with a 48-pound tool. So when we designed 2110, these guys always make fun of me, there's a Lazy Susan that holds these tools, $40,000 worth of tools, and you pull it out with a drawer slide, and you're over it when you pull it up. That is what we're trying to achieve here with the equipment. I mean, Scott, who has been involved in this, knows what it's like when you have, when we built 2111 in 2008, you know, we had like one shelf and a cabinet this big. That had shelves, but the problem is we don't have enough place to put the tools, and they all end up in a pile. So compartmentalization was paramount at what we want to do. So we want to invest in this engine and mount the equipment appropriately, including extrication equipment. Because right now it's laying in there, and you've got to reach in, grab it, and that's a bad position for anybody. That's the worst part of it. And the rest of it, you know, when you have the drawer slides that come out, which we don't have on that truck, and you get it in front of you, you're able to grab the stuff better. So it's investment in organization. It also would mirror 2110, the new engine. That's the goal of the project.
Everything's in the same place.
Right.
Both trucks.
Right. So, you know, go, say, L3, left cabinet, third one back, all the irons are in there. All the axes are in there. That's the way we set it up. Because otherwise, it's tough when you have different years of trucks, different manufacturers. So we, like the tankers are set up the same. Hydrant kits, R3. You know, fittings, L1. Standardization is very critical. And that's been challenging since we've had 2111.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the fire chief to hire Spencer Manufacturing to modify engine 211 cabinets and install necessary tool and equipment holders as specified for a not to exceed amount of $19,000 with a 10% contingency.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
Can the cabinets be moved to other trucks once they're built? Or
I'm sorry?
Do the cabinets stay with the truck always, or once the truck?
Yeah, the cabinets stay because the width, the depth differs, so everything is cut to size to fit in there. And that was, you know, we had a couple of shelves made to add into the current truck we're talking about, but we don't have tool boards that pull out where everything's mounted and hung up. They're all piled on there. And that's what's a detriment, and it's time we've talked about doing this now for a couple of years, but we thought we'd sell that truck. So that's kind of the purpose. We could repurpose that Lazy Susan, but we don't have one. We have one that's in the new engine.
How long do we expect that truck to be in our service?
I would say probably, because it's the 15-year mark, around 20 years, 5 more years. And then you can look at it. You know, we're working on one now that's 20, our Ariel's 27 years, 28 years old, because it's $1.6 million to replace it. It's going to be there a long time.
Sure is.
Does that answer your question,
It
Fred?
does, thank you.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Colin,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Duplank,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Folks, see, we've already discussed rental fee structure. This was, I believe, prompted by the board, rightfully so. Page 22 of your packet,
Mhm.
rental inspection fee. Chris, I'd like you to comment since you were assigned some of this.
Let me do the next page. So basically, we had done the same thing back in 2016 and again in 2021. This time we added a little bit more to it, like for example, the inspector training we didn't originally have in there, the computer and software costs, backfilling inspectors while they're at training. So it's essentially associated costs with each of our expenses and then divided it by the number of rentals to get the annual cost, which is how we had done it previously. So I think this much better reflects what our current costs actually are, and raising it to those appropriate fees should cover our costs. If that makes sense. Happy to entertain questions if there are any.
So you're gonna raise it to $175 for your initial
Yeah.
inspection?
Yeah, from 125 to 175, and then the re-inspection would go from 75 to 125, I think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this what the other communities are doing?
Well, so we would raise ours first, that's why we're proposing giving it till July 1st. Then they would each raise their fee to pay us, our fee.
Okay, so this really relates to that everybody agrees that 125 is enough and 75, or, no, 175 and 125 is enough? Because we want it to be the same in all three communities doing it.
Right.
Yeah, and our fee would be the same, we would charge, beginning July 1st, we would start charging them that. They would have to raise their fee between now and then to be able to take in their revenue and then pay us. Which was how we did it the last time. We just, as soon as this meeting was over, we notified them the following day that, hey, coming July 1st, our fee is gonna change. You'll wanna update your rental fee appropriately to cover whatever you want above and beyond that, but this is what we're gonna start billing you July 1st.
May I? Here's what's really important for the board to understand, because I'm not so sure municipalities understand this. You can only charge your cost of the fee, your true costs.
Right.
And there are municipalities, I'm gonna charge $300 for an inspection. We calculated out what we actually do, including backfilling. So for those communities that are just doing, they're subject to being, hey, show me how you came up with $300. I have one community north of us that charges $300 for an inspection. But why is it $175 for us? I've got some cities wanting to charge $400 or $500. Based on what? Well, that's just what we want to charge. We feel this is very well justified.
Cover your costs.
Matter of fact, the cities are making more than us and we're doing the work.
Yeah, well, that's my issue.
There you go.
I think the analysis is excellent. The only question I have on the analysis that harkens back to when we had the meeting in the firehouse with all the talk
Right.
there.
Annual budget.
That the inspections were traditionally being done by our senior-most people. I mean, Chris and Chris Bernardi and whatever. I just want to make sure those costs reflect those people, not some lower number. The other thing I'll say is, having been at the city council meeting in Saugatuck most recently, there was, or maybe, I can't remember, maybe it's either them or the planning commission, could be either one. I think planning commission. There was some question raised there, well, do we really have to go with the annual inspection? And shouldn't, maybe it should be more expensive for the first one, and then the re-inspections would be less and whatever. And I think that thinking was defeated there. But I would certainly want us to be the ones making that call, not a bunch of unelected people sitting around a table at Saugatuck. So, and it, honestly, I'm surprised that it's as low as it is, so they should be happy.
Who's they that's watching this? I mean, who's, you know, like when you say 400, who would be
I don't think
calling
people-
anybody out on that?
I watch it because I have a municipalities charging $300 for a rental inspection.
Oh, I just wondered if
And
there
I
was
said,
a
how are you justifying that? Because I can look at ours, and I know what ours takes. You know what really helped us with a lot of this? Cindy, Cindy Osmond. Because Cindy had to establish that for the city. But there were municipalities around us charging $250 for inspection, and we're getting $50. It can take 5 phone calls to just schedule this.
Right.
And that's where we said, wait a minute, time out. Remember when we started this?
It was free.
You were there?
It's free.
It was free.
I started, I was,
Yeah.
And everybody is getting rich on us. Now we're doing 900. Jeez. Where there were 72 when I did them at no charge.
Yeah.
I started doing inspections in the hotels when John first started it. We didn't charge anything.
Part of the push, I'm thinking, for arbitrarily higher numbers that can explain that is there's also a push on short-term rentals in general and on getting fees up on short-term rentals. So the city's setting this aside. The rest of the short-term rental fee, which relates to city services and calls for service and all the rest of this, the cities have to justify their short-term rental fee X the fire services billing to them. And there's a lot of constituents out there who want those numbers to be really high, to depress the push.
Oh, the rental.
The rentals.
Yeah.
But the chief's absolutely right. They can only, if you push them up like that, you're just gonna get sued, and they're gonna ask for these numbers, and you're not gonna have them, and you're gonna get...
It kind of mirrors the basis of our cost recovery. We don't, okay, we're gonna charge $500 to do an extrication, which some departments do, whether it's $10, 10 hours or 10 minutes. We do it on a cost basis. What is the time? What's the average time to commute? What does it cost for a truck? You know, one of the things we missed in the years past is, what does it cost to backfill when we're getting our 20 hours a year credit, which is mandatory by law? We didn't have that in there. So we had to put that in there because it costs money to bring somebody in to cover when we're gone.
But I guess my original question was, did the other cities discuss amongst themselves what they're gonna charge, so that if you have 2 seasonal rentals in Douglas and 3 in Saugatuck and 7 in the township, you're paying the same amount for each one of them?
Well, that's not it. They gotta charge the same amount related to what we're charging them.
Right.
But the rest of it is their own business. They can
Yeah.
charge based on their cost. Saugatuck and Douglas's cost could be different, township could be different, based on who knows how much
their cost.
And they will be.
What you do is, we had to establish what our cost is. What they do with it, I don't think we can control. We certainly, we're notifying township, Douglas, the city, our fee is $175, $125.
Okay.
Theirs is probably based on supply and demand, ours are based on facts.
Yep.
And that's
Okay,
all we
well, I'm
can
pushing
do.
way too far past the fire department, so.
How do we get our payment for this? Do we pay,
We submit a bill.
bill the city and they pay us? Or
No,
not
we-
the person who
the
rents?
cities,
City pays
each
us.
send, they pay
Okay.
us. Peter collects it, and he keeps track of it.
Okay. And how many times a year do you do this inspection for them? Once, and I see we've got a second?
So right now, the current pulse, what was inherited from 2009 was every 3 years.
Oh, really?
And John and I and Scott, it should be annual. However, when Saugatuck City initiated this program, they wanted low impact. So the result, in fact, let's do it every 3 years. Chief Block always taught me it should be done annually. However, we weren't in charge of it. And John didn't want to even charge for it. So now, as we get into it, our experiences have been, you go in 3 years, it's a much more lengthier process, because smoke alarms are gone, or they haven't done anything since you've been back there 3 years. So to Eric's point or Dan's point, if you do an annual inspection, my experience has been doing annual inspections commercially is, if you keep up with it, it's more rampant the second and third time. That's what I brought to the city. That's the way it should work. It goes faster because they know every year you're coming in. With rentals, oh, I got 3 years, nobody's gonna watch it.
So, if you go in, say, every year, 120, 175, then there should not be another second time. And why would you go in a second time?
Because
Or-
it's not ready.
Oh, you have to go inspect it, oh, okay.
So that it's, maybe 50% of them, they don't read the sheet,
Okay.
and they don't mount things, so you have to go back.
I can make sure they did what they did.
So it became punitive.
Okay, okay.
So when you do it every year, you'll find typically, my experience has been, it gets better and better,
Yeah.
because they don't want to pay those additional fees. Well, when I was doing commercial, we don't charge anybody, and I saw the level of commitment to the inspection was much better on an annual basis. However, it's up to municipalities what they want to do.
But this is not commercial? None of this is commercial?
This is resident, this is
Residential.
commercial in the sense of the short-term rentals.
Yeah, okay,
But
yeah.
like from
Yeah,
Phil's Bar and Grill.
got that, yeah.
Well, and it didn't, short-term rentals didn't used to be an industry. Now it is definitely a money-making industry.
It was like a garage sale before.
Yeah.
Now it's a business. People are buying homes just to rent.
them, yes.
So you're right, it's commercial to a point,
Good point.
and the IRS looks at it as commercial.
So, what about the commercial charges? Are we not gonna get into that, that later?
Well, yeah, we figure once a year for doing businesses and assembly occupancies. My suggestion is we leave that be. There is something legislatively for assembly. What's assembly occupancy? 50 people or more. There's something in the state of Michigan where they may start charging for inspections,
But they don't right now.
but we don't right now.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the Saugatuck Township Fire District amending the inspection fee structure for short-term rentals to $175 for the first inspection and $125 for each re-inspection effective July 1, 2024.
I'll
Sorry,
support.
sorry, David, I cut you off.
No, you did not at all. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
so a motion by Beckman and a second by Aldrich to approve the rental inspection fee structure. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Beckman?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Duplank?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
Mullins?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes. Okay, moving on. Hydrant clearing, oh no, oh yeah, hydrant clearing plan.
So where this stemmed from was, a hydrant on the flyer that was on Blue Star Highway in Douglas. There were some communication issues. There was some challenges getting to the hydrant and misinformation, and it got blown way out of proportion. So after speaking with the mayor a number of times, meeting with the manager, meeting with DPW, Ricky had contacted Cal Lake Storm Water because back in 2015, the board directed me to write a hydrant clearing plan for each municipality. This was a part of our community risk reduction process. Who is taking care of the hydrants?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I do mine.
So there are some people that feel the taxpayers pay
Fully shoveling it
a
in.
fee for this, and it should be maintained by others. So it was a big mess.
What does your plan say? What do your plans say to, would you take care of it?
This,
Yeah, yeah.
so the hydrant proposal was drafted under the request of Douglas, Hank Savislak, along with the board. So we crafted a plan where we all shared in the maintenance in the snow. So let's take Saugatuck City, for example. So their issue was, the DPW supervisor said, all right, council, what do you want me to do first? Hydrants, sidewalks, or the road? So that was a good question, because nobody was doing the hydrants. And they'd be buried. So we resolved that DPWs will focus on the sidewalks, and the roads. Then within 48 hours, they would go to the hydrants on 6 inches of snowfall or more. So that was what was drafted, and this was a proposal. We can't make the city, we can force an ordinance that says a hydrant's obstructed. Usually when you go to a city and say, I'm writing you up, doesn't go over well. Township doesn't have it, but township has to hire somebody. Douglas has hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment. Saugatuck City has hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment. Clean out the hydrants, you own them. Well, back in the day, you had that paperwork. We went through this years ago. 2002, that hydrant was pointed out. It's too low. So all this came about where Douglas wrote Cal Lake and said, this says Cal Lake, per this agreement, would handle the Blue Star corridor with their loader, because that's where the water main is, commercially. That would be our water supply. Best choice at the time. And then DPWs could focus on the roads and the sidewalks. Then they would get to do the hydrants. Back in 2002, when the fire department chief block, Inspector Shippa, ran into this, the water department, under the direction of Tom Desmond, said that's our responsibility, we should be doing that, we didn't know about it. So the standard which we didn't write, we don't write standards, is a certain dimension of 18 inches. That hydrant that we used for the fire was 12 inches. Was probably 20 inches of snow. Can't turn it on. So it slowed us down. But we had another water supply. So fast forward to Todd Desmond was gone, a new administrator. Douglas reaches out to Cal Lake. Cal Lake, now 8 years after writing this, wrote an email that you have that says, well, this plan is flawed. First time this board and your chief have known about that. It's a proposal. You do this, we are on call to do it. The board gave me $500 to hand shovel hydrants. We don't have equipment to shovel hydrants. You do. Township hires Havner. It's your infrastructure. What you do with Cal Lake is up to you. But we all settled on a plan. That's how this was created. Per municipality. Township had to hire a contractor to do it. The corridor was to be done by Cal Lake. Well, according to what was written recently, Cal Lake thought, well, I was sending a letter notifying, okay, time to start doing this. I'm not policing your hydrants. Nowhere does it say we would police that. Matter of fact, you're to reach out to us, you can't keep up with it. So there were some real voids here. And thus, I wanted to bring this to your attention because I brought the standards to Douglas City Manager and to the DPW supervisor to say, hey, by the way, here's what this hydrant's supposed to be. And it's not. You might want to deal with it.
They fixed that at that time. Obviously they didn't.
And then the one just to the west of that, on LaBar, on Center Street, same thing. We've pointed this out. I've been here 23 years, we've pointed this out. So, what the city does, according to the water authority, until somebody else took over, they were responsible. That administrator says they aren't responsible. That's up to the administration of the cities to find out who's doing what, where, and when. What I did is craft a plan, and it was pretty much picked apart during the last storm on the 16th and the 17th, when we had this fire.
Well, Greg, according to this, you're supposed to request Douglas in writing every time it snows.
Not gonna happen.
For the hydrants.
That's not in the plan. Right.
That's asinine, and you can put that on record.
Right. That's why I wanted to bring it to your attention, because, you know, I'm not taking this personally, but this is not the way. And to hear this 8 years later, after this board directed me to write these and distribute them, and another problem that happened in Douglas, I don't know how many managers they've had since then, but the DPW supervisor didn't know about it, and the manager didn't know about it. That's an internal issue, not my issue.
Does it make sense for the board to authorize or direct communication to the 3 jurisdictions that clearly specifies that these hydrants, which the fire district utilizes, are the property of the individual jurisdictions and their responsibility to maintain and...
Frankly, I assume that's your job as representatives. You notify them.
I'm ready to call them right now.
Right. Here's the other reason that I bring this before you. Lisa, Douglas manager, asked to meet me with Ricky, because they had this email that you have that I didn't even know about. Ricky read it to me, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, wait a minute, we don't have STFD standards. We don't design that. Matter of fact, half the time, the cities don't even tell us they're doing this. By ordinance, we have jurisdiction over all this. We try to be nice. This was brought to the attention. And furthermore, they're inspected annually by Cal Lake, and you have to note any deficiencies. So I said, why don't you FOIA this? So, back to this. This was a proposal. Lisa said, I want to take this further. I want to make it an SOP, standard operating procedure. So Lisa said, I need to have this for my capital improvement plan. I need to know what deficiencies I have on the hydrant so I can take it to the board and budget for it, which I hope every city is doing that. And I said, you're right. So I have to survey 175 hydrants with DPW because they don't know what the standard is. So I said, all right, I'll do it with Ricky or whoever he assigns me. So I had my staff put it all in a spreadsheet, send it to DPW, so I'll be doing Douglas. I notified the Saugatuck City, hey, you've got 5 non-traffic hydrants. You hit them, they're going to run like a fountain. They aren't breakaway. Did that probably 7 years ago. So there's some real misunderstandings where municipalities think Cal Lake's taking care of it, and then they put it up. You guys, this is up for you to figure out, not me. But if this board wants me, we'd hand shovel hydrants. How many years have we done that, gentlemen? Standing out there, they got $100,000 loaders. If they get hit, they're not going to get killed. Not my responsibility.
But even that hydrant right there, I'm assuming over the years, it was probably at standard 18 inches, as you say. All it takes is a yardstick to figure that out. But over the years, landscaping probably buried it. It's not that hard to dig around that thing and put some...
It should be caught on an annual, but complacency, I don't know. Is that the video? Mm-hmm. Just click it out for me. Here's the problem. Here's why it's supposed to be.
Yeah, why, common sense.
Can't get the caps off.
Now, what do you do when people are screaming at you for water? I got engine crews there, I'm running out of water, they're inside the building, and I'm dealing with that shit.
You need a ratchet. I was gonna say, do they make a ratchet?
They do, the problem is, they lock up.
Yeah.
They lock up. As it is, sometimes those seas, if they're not lubricated, but it's frustrating.
Do we need to go out and identify every hydrant, make sure, I mean, do I go to Daniel with this and ask him?
Isn't that what
this is
Cal
what
Up
we're
does?
gonna- That's what I would
You know,
think.
they should have a
But we
map.
need to make sure.
Cal Lake should have a map of every single
Every
hydrant.
They do.
Yeah.
So, remember when we did the ISO? ISO wanted the flow test for the hydrant?
Right.
Yes.
What I got were the maintenance records.
Which were not flow.
Correct.
They just
So there's some
opened them
real
up.
issues there. I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just saying, there's some real misunderstandings here. And if I was a municipality, I wanna know that that's gonna work, because you will share in the liability when that doesn't work. That's what happened on that hydrant.
That's the problem.
And that's what kinda got blown out of proportion. It delayed water connection, but it didn't delay water on the fire. We were running out of water, but we didn't run out of water. That was what was blown out. And then people go, oh, God, you know, we're gonna sue somebody, and this has come to a head. And you can see by the tone of that email, Saugatuck, their standard. Where are all the engineers that you guys are paying for? You're paying oversight for this stuff, and we catch this every time. I have engineers approving this stuff with no marker, which is spec. Spec. Look at this. It's all 18 inches minimum. So I'm frustrated, so I have to say, hey, guys, do your fireboard thing.
So.
You know what I'm talking about, Teresa.
Partly I do. I'm a little quite confused, actually. Because the cities own it, but usually sewer and water is taking care of things that they own because this is water. So,
Right.
but this may be a whole different thing, and it's been 10 years, so.
Well,
My question is, what do you want?
I don't care who, maintain. I want to maintain.
You want someone to maintain them?
Maintain them, and make sure they're compliant. Because I got dozens of them that are too low, you can't turn the wrench on.
Probably shouldn't say that, wouldn't
That you
you?
let somebody know and nothing happens.
When you
And then when you have 20 inches of snow, then they don't shovel it out because they're blaming somebody else, it doesn't solve the problem. When you have all this money in these DPWs in the cities, if you guys want me to do it, I'm charging every municipality for it. Personally, I think it should be up to the fire department.
Oh, you do?
Yep, because I know it would get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I hear you.
No, it's gonna get.
Oh, he's got a lot more equipment now.
I've been-
my God.
But Greg,
Yeah.
looking at that drawing, every single hydrant is that height, at least. It's just been buried.
No, no, we had some put in on Wiley Road. Tell you where, Union and Wiley Road. Down to the ground.
Remember the one by Green Koi, and we were, you
Yeah.
brought, it right when I started, and that one was like
It
under
took
the,
me over a year to get the one corrected on Union and Wiley Road.
But I
All
guess
approved.
what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
Greg, they don't make a hydrant smaller than 18 inches. They just have engineering problems that bring it up high enough.
Yeah, what they
That's
do
the
is,
problem like at Green Koi.
if the grade is
It was
such,
not.
they just put a 12-inch extension on it. They put an extension right by the flange. They just extend it up.
Okay.
But what they do is, they just put it in, and then it doesn't get approved by the engineering, who's paid to do that. And then we catch it and say, hey, it's too low. It's too low, we can't swing the wrench. And nothing happens, nothing happens. And if we don't follow through on it, it's like the photo you just saw.
There has
And
to
then,
be some.
oh, I didn't know about it, because, 4 4 people later. It's very frustrating when we rely on this, and you guys spent millions of dollars on this stuff, and no one's taking accountability for these hydrants.
If I was a municipality, I would make damn sure every single one of them were up to code, that height, so we don't get sued.
Yeah.
That's what Lisa's...
We're gonna look to
That's what Lisa's gonna do.
I would
Yeah.
make damn sure that's
Yeah,
done.
that's,
And if it's not, whether you dig around it to make it that height, or you put an extender on it to raise it, then that's what you do.
Some of them you can solve with digging, excavating. Some of them were so low. Then like the one by Green Koi, they had to move it. It was too low. Dug around it, and it was like a pit.
Yeah, then you have to sit
It was a mess.
yeah.
So we have
So-
2 issues here. One is maintaining the hydrants and making sure they're kept up and corrected now, right now, and then kept up from here on. The other one is who is going to dig out the snow.
Right.
So
And the
there's 2
plan,
issues.
the plan addressed who was gonna do the snow.
Okay?
But there you had a communication breakdown. One municipality didn't know. And they were doing it. After that fire on a Saturday night, Vicki and I drove out to that fire on Blue Star to make sure I didn't have a reignition. We went out there and there was the deck crew, hand shoveling up Blue Star. Well, good. That's good. I don't care who does it. It's just, when you wait 5 or 6 days and you have 20 inches of snow, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Get a plastic shovel and you're trying to shovel it? Not our responsibility. I'll do it, I'm charging for it.
But if we go out there on a
And you better buy me a loader.
and it's not done, we have to do it.
Somebody needs to do it,
Well, we have to do it if we go out there and there's a fire.
but the way it was before, when this first happened, was we had a water guy, Phil Quaddy, in the township. So Maple Cape cul-de-sacs, right? Township, hydrants were buried. Citizens calling me up, I go to Chief Block, and hey, Chief, what do I do? Hydrants are buried, they piled the snow in the cul-de-sacs, because they couldn't swing the plows. Chief says, go over and talk to Supervisor Phil Quaddy. Go over and talk to Phil Quaddy. Phil Quaddy said, if you want to use them, you shovel them out.
When was Phil at the township?
He was there for a long time.
He was with us since 1979.
Township supervisor.
He was
He
township
was
supervisor.
township-
So it didn't-
before 79.
Wasn't a real good thing, and so then we sent Brent Van Oss out with a metal detector. And there was 16 to 17 feet of snow. And Brent flagged with a metal detector where the hydrants were. We hired an excavator to come in and dig them out.
Can we agree to have myself included, the representatives to the jurisdictions, make this crystal clear appeal to our jurisdictions, so that the jurisdictions understand from our mouths what their responsibilities are on their hydrant, period.
I'm going.
Same here.
If they expect Cal Lake to do it, then they gotta get that clear.
Yeah.
We always understood it as Cal Lake was maintaining the hydrants.
Okay.
Yeah, they should be ones lubing them and doing all that stuff.
Right. And I think they do lube them and all that, but they
All
don't,
right, good.
the maintenance and brush and all that, when the new administrator took over, that all stopped.
And I think use the Douglas fire and the fallout from that to explain, in particular, the liability issues that arise if this work is not done by the people who are supposed to be responsible for it, which is not the fire district. It's the jurisdiction.
So when you look at this, July 1st, 2002,
I know.
Cal Lake Sewer Water Manager Tom Desmond acknowledged that the authority is responsible for maintenance and repairs of hydrants, and that some need to be fixed and made accessible. But now it's changed. I don't know why.
But that's what I thought. But, and it's, yeah.
Tom Desmond would do it, he just didn't keep up with it until somebody told him.
Yeah, he would.
Anyway,
Okay, we really need to move on.
yep, I know,
I've got a time deadline myself.
all right.
Donations, go ahead.
Anyway, I already mentioned this, that the checks were received, because that was a pledge. I still need a $5,000 check, from another George Supp Estate member. Special event fee structure. This was prompted by the board, and you can see what the crew has put together. Wendy did, put this on a sheet for me. Total cost per event. Take, Douglas Halloween Parade, down near the bottom. That was a night, that's once a year, it's $1,943. There's another one up there that is multiple ones. Where is that?
Music in the park.
Music in the Park. Music in the Park is one that was, there were like 6 or 7 events, so the cost per event is to the right.
Oh, okay.
It's like every Wednesday for, you know. So
Yeah.
just to give you an idea, so, 4th of July parade is $1,170. The 4th of July fireworks, you know, $3,150. Because there was some discussion about at what point do you want to stop paying the $20,000 to $30,000 a year to do all these events. There was a talk about perhaps the event organizers should absorb a third of this. As I remember.
At a minimum, I think, but
So that's why this was brought. You don't have to decide that now, but it's something that I wanted to bring it to the attention. You can absorb it.
part of the difficulty is that without charging some amount, there's no brake pedal on whoever wants to come up with their next
Event.
And we get stuck with, you know, blocking off streets or whatever the hell it is. So I don't think it's at all unreasonable, I mean, to ask that an event organizer
What are we doing?
contribute 30% of the cost of the fire district services for their events.
Well, my feeling is there's so many events.
That's what I'm saying.
And some of them are huge fundraisers for the communities. Nobody will ever make me believe the Halloween parade doesn't make Douglas merchants a lot of money.
I don't know why, though.
And,
Shocking.
You gotta be open. to
Yeah,
sell.
which one?
oh, they make a lot of liquor
Restaurant.
sales and food sales, you gotta be kidding me. The Dunes makes money hand over fist on Halloween.
Well, regardless, I think it's just,
That's a huge event for Douglas. Also their only event. So I think that's important, but, you know, I think there should be some cost relevance to these. The bridge walk, that's cute, but it doesn't make anybody any money. And like, I don't know what else.
see, I don't care whether it makes anybody a nickel. If you're gonna have an event that's going to use the resources of the fire district, accepting a reasonable share of the cost of those resources is just smart fair.
But if
Really.
you know,
Well, I don't care what
ahead of
your,
time-
I don't care what your event is, I don't care how successful it is, I don't care, that's not our business. Our business is managing these resources.
Right.
But don't we need to have an idea how much these are gonna cost ahead of time to tell the event planners?
Well, it's on the
What they
list,
cost.
you give them an estimate, and backfill it at the end.
That's what this is. I think there's some things that are civic responsibility for your
I agree
consideration.
with you.
I would not be charging anybody for Memorial Day
Right.
parade.
Yeah.
I would not be charging anybody for a 4th of July parade or fireworks.
That's part of taxpayers'
Right.
dollars.
Right.
Mount Ballhead Challenge, here's what I recommend. Look at what that costs you, us. What I suggested to them after this happened, because there was an extensive shutdown from Mount Ballhead through Douglas, through the township, to the city, is go hire, give them a break. Go hire a traffic incident management company. and then we'll stand by as medical, but we're not gonna put 500 cones out. And they were very receptive, that was Rotary.
Greg, is there any of these that when we put people on site for these things, that could count as training for our people?
Just about all of them.
So that does benefit us too, so we gotta keep that
It's just
in
that-
mind.
It's just there's too many.
Right, I agree.
But yes, what we do is we do driver's training, written up on all of them.
You could reasonably, I suppose, to your grandfather, you know, Douglas, Halloween parade, 4th of July, fireworks, grandfather civic sponsored, named events, not, and any more you come up with, no, these 5 or whatever.
Right.
After that, 30% across the
Right.
board.
I think this is a good discussion for another day.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
running really late,
Yep.
and there are people that have to go to other meetings. so-
Yeah.
I mean, $5,300 for music in the park is like nothing.
Yeah, that is a lot. So let's move on to the closed session.
Let's table that.
Well, table it, it wasn't an action item, so we'll discuss that another day.
Okay.
What's that, the close?
The special event thing. So, if somebody would make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Okay.
We'll do this fast.
We'll go into closed session under, MCL 15.268, 1H being section 8, 1H of the Open Meetings Act. Make sure you put all that into the minutes that we did.
We have to stop the
I'll second it.
I thought I had,
Oh, sure, I did.
Scott made the motion, all right. We got a motion by Phelps, support by Pullen to go into closed
Are
session.
you gonna take notes then? Because they have to go.
Yes.
Chris has stopped.
You will have to hit the pause button on that in a second.
So at
Thank you.
6 o'clock.
6:02,
He's gonna stop the recording.
If we keep on doing this long, I'm bringing my own chair.
I told you. I told you to bring your pajamas and refreshments.
How was your time with,
Oh, we had a blast. It was